According to police, one of the first things they noticed when they entered the Pompano Beach, Florida home were what turned out to be size 12 bloody shoe prints that began near the entrance. They followed the steps up a flight of stairs to the second floor, across the marble tiles, and through the kitchen past a bloody butcher knife someone had hidden under a throw rug. The footprints disappeared up another flight of stairs towards a bedroom at the top of the house. When sheriff's detectives pushed open the bedroom door, they were confronted with the bloody body of Samuel Del Brocco. He had been stabbed in the chest half a dozen times. The only sign that Del Brocco might have had company, other than the knife and bloody shoe prints, were the 2 burnt matches on the armrest of a leather chair and a half-smoked joint sitting on the dresser near the body. 60-year-old Samuel Del Brocco was a wealthy telecommunications executive with GOP political connections. He lived in Virginia with his female partner of over 20 years. One of the terrible things that happens when someone is murdered is that the victim and the perpetrator's lives are often exposed, and that's the case here. It appears that Mr. Del Brocco was living a double life. During the week, he played the role of a wealthy, straight, conservative telecommunications executive. And on the weekend, he would travel down to his Florida home, where he would spend his evenings at gay strip clubs, chatting up strippers, and using recreational drugs. After the 13th of September, when Del Brocco failed to show up to meet friends or to return phone calls, the police were called and asked to perform a welfare check. In the weeks and months after Del Brocco was murdered, the police had no clues or suspects, so his friends put together a $24,000 reward for tips to who murdered their friend, but the reward didn't seem to bring about any results. As the case was going cold, luck and coincidence would drop the suspect in the murder right in the lap of the police. As a result of his arrest on drug charges and as a condition of his parole, 24-year-old John Snavely was ordered to have his fingerprints taken and entered into the CODIS system. As a result, as the police reviewed the DNA they collected from the Del Brocco murder, Snavely's prints had been found in the house. In 2013, Snavely was arrested and charged with second-degree murder in the brutal stabbing death. Del Brocco and Snavely met at a Florida gay club where he danced. At the end of the evening, the 2 men left together and headed to Del Brocco's luxurious condominium. In custody, Snavely told the police Del Brocco wanted a private lap dance at his home. If you're wondering, the going rate for a private lap dance from Mr. Snavely was $500. Snavely told police once things got going, he couldn't get an erection and Del Brocco drove him home. Snavely's DNA was found on Del Brocco's Porsche and on a can of Coca-Cola. Perhaps more importantly, Snavely's DNA was not found on any of the items related to the murder, not on the butcher knife used to kill Del Brocco, nor was it found on the joint, or matches found in the bedroom, nor were the bloody footprints a match to Snavely's. According to detectives, initially, Snavely denied having met Del Brocco, and even after he admitted to the meeting, when pressed for details, police say Snavely seemed unclear, due, as he said, to the drugs he had used earlier that night. Despite the lack of DNA evidence related directly to the murder, John Snavely was held without bail for 3 years before being tried. Up to this point, Snavely had years of run-ins with the police, but he was about to receive a little judicial intervention. In 2017, Snavely's defense lawyer filed a motion to dismiss the case, citing Florida case law, which holds that circumstantial evidence cases cannot be sustained unless the evidence is inconsistent with any reasonable hypothesis of innocence. Snavely's lawyers mentioned the movement of Del Brocco's cell phone to indicate that he went to Fort Lauderdale, then back to the Pompano townhouse, and then he made a second trip to Fort Lauderdale, where he may have picked up the second man whose DNA was found on the murder weapon. The lawyer also suggested that Del Brocco was in the process of ending a relationship with a man in Northern Virginia who stood to inherit half of Del Brocco's estate, and that man had a motive to kill Del Brocco. In December 2017, a Broward, Florida County Circuit Court judge held a hearing on the motion to dismiss the charges. The judge began by noting that the state had failed to respond to the motion to dismiss the charges. She then noted, quote, mindfully, that a sworn motion to dismiss should rarely be granted, and granted only when the facts and inferences do not establish a prima facie case. Continuing, the judge said, there are no witnesses to the crime. The murder weapon was recovered with someone else's hair and DNA on it. Shoe prints with the victim's blood were never matched to the defendant. Defendant never confessed to committing this crime, and no one has come forward attesting to any suspicious activity on the defendant's part. And with that, she dismissed the charges against John Snavely, who, as I said, had been in jail for 3 years since his arrest. Detectives are still searching for a motive. In a statement, police said, "We believe it's possibly over money." John Snavely has led a pretty eventful life. When he was charged with this murder, he was in jail on a drug arrest, and it was not his first arrest. He was also had been in and out of jail on petty theft charges. In addition to all of these, Snavely was also investigated for the assault of an underage girl. He met the 16-year-old on the set of a Bang Bros video production. The teen alleged that soon after they met, Snavely began to control her movements and social interactions. At one point, she said that he used a knife he heated with a lighter to burn her face. On another occasion, the teen told police that Snavely cut off most of her hair so that she wouldn't be attractive to other men. Snavely completed a 18-month sentence for assault while in custody for the murder charges, but he's still not home free yet. He remains in a Broward County jail for a no-bond hold from Texas, where he's charged with violating the conditions of his parole on another assault charge. I couldn't find any confirmation whether either of these assault charges are related to the teenager he's alleged to have assaulted. In a jailhouse interview, Snavely denied killing Mr. Del Brocco. He also denied the abuse alleged towards the teen. About his gay porn career, he says he was tricked into it, saying that he used drugs as a way to cope with being a straight man doing gay porn. He didn't address dancing in gay nightclubs or choosing to do private lap dances for customers. And from what I've read, his drug abuse problems started long before his porn career, and after, when he started to use the name Champ in his straight porn career. In his appeal to dismiss the charges, Snavely's attorney offered that the DNA found on the knife belonged to a young man Mr. Del Brocco had recently broken up with. The two men had met, much like he had met Mr. Snavely, in a gay bar where the younger man was working. They quickly developed a relationship, and as a result of that relationship, Mr. Del Brocco hired the young man to work at his company and to live in the guest house in his Virginia home. Employees at the company, when spoken to by the police, said that it was clear that there was something going on between the two, that they were in some sort of romantic sexual relationship. Apparently, the two men would have frequent loud arguments, and the last one ended with Mr. Del Brocco telling the young man to get out. He later told friends that the young man he was mentoring had been ungrateful, and he swore to cut him out of both the company and his $6 million will. Mr. Del Brocco was killed before he could do either. The Virginia man has not been charged in Mr. Del Brocco's death. Samuel Del Brocco's murder remains unsolved. I have left that man's name out of this episode, but I will say that he is now an executive at the company that Mr. Del Brocco founded. There are so many things about this case that I find interesting, starting with the fact that the state would move to prosecute Snavely despite the lack of DNA or bloody shoe print match evidence. Snavely had a troubled life, possibly victimizing others, and even though his rationalization about his porn career rings a little hollow, no one should be accused and tried for a murder they didn't commit. Samuel Del Brocco was born in upstate New York in 1949. When he was a teenager, his family moved to Hollywood, Florida. He co-founded PCI Communications in 1986 with one of his bandmates. Together, they grew the business into a very successful enterprise. Del Brocco actually was a school psychologist developing crisis management and training programs for school administrators and teachers. When I said that he started a business with one of his bandmates, it's true. Del Brocco and the band would play rock classics up and down the eastern seaboard, including at Atlantic City. Despite all of these accomplishments, Mr. Del Brocco was closeted, and like so many men, gay or straight, he used his money to access youth and beauty, and this combination made him a target. As luxurious as Mr. Del Brocco's closeted life was, it still was closeted all the same. No one to confide in, no friends to share the joys and indulgences of one half of his life. I hope that younger people are more able to fully stand in their lives without hiding. But I'm also worried that this storm cloud of homophobia that's rolling over us at the moment might just serve to drive some young people back into the closet, particularly if they are from conservative backgrounds. If you feel that you're one of the people that I'm talking about, check the resources in the program notes below, but also know that we need everything that you have to give the world in all of its colors, and that you are loved and not alone. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.